Well, well, well. What do we have here? If it isn't Minecraft. It's been a while. I've been busy. Life's been busy. Things are going on. Such beautiful music. Returning back to my old roots and playing a game. That's what I'm doing. So out of the blue, quite randomly, might I add, I've been having the feeling of, well, many of you probably know that I moved quite a ways away from where I originated. And as of recently, I've been thinking, what if I just, like, casually show back up at the doorstep of where I originated and be like, hey, it's me again, world. Here I am. I wonder how much it would have changed. Probably not much, given the fact that it's only been a few months, but... well, it's been about half a year, I guess. But the basis of this kind of thing is that, like... it's not that I'm not happy where I am, it's just... I feel like this was the place I went to find myself. Now that I have, I'm just like, why not return? Because when I do, I'll be able to do all the things that I used to enjoy. Going for long walks down the old winding pathways. Because where I live currently, there's kind of just roads. No real, like, walking paths that I've seen. It's been making me think a lot about where I consider home. Most of the time, I consider it not more the location, but more the people around the location. Like, for a few months now, this has been my home. Because I care more about the people than the place in which it is. And then I got to thinking. Me and thinking is a dangerous prospect. May I remind you, in fact, that I considered myself crazy for the first several years of me doing anything on YouTube. Dangerous process. A dangerous process that takes a long time. But I was thinking, what if I just return? What would the people there say if I just roll back in the doors of that ye old place? Oh, so far away. Of course, that's probably a long ways out yet. However, the idea is there. I've had my adventure. One wise fellow, has told me, you go for your adventure, but you always remember where your home is. And that I can say for sure is very much true. The place in which you're most happy, otherwise known as your home. I mean, like, the place I'm living is pretty nice, gotta say. But there's a lot of things I miss about the old town. And I've been missing making YouTube videos, which is why I kind of starting to try to return to that. Who knows what's possible? I got the poppers. We got cherries! Cherries! Murder them! Destroy them! You are not welcome in my world! There's multiples. Get back here, you stupid cow. You fucking cow. Yeah, there we go. Forking cow. Wow. Alright. Swimming in the depths. Whoa. And to continue on my previous statements, there's no actual confirmation whether or not I shall be returning. It's just an idea. I mean, I'm returning to YouTube, that much is for certain. Otherwise, I wouldn't be making this video. Obviously. But like to the other thing, returning to my old town. I don't know. Guess I'll find out later. The process of life. It's a strange process. I don't even understand it myself. Why did the process of life take me, roughly, let's see, I think it was, more than 1,000 miles away from my old home? The process of life. Its mysteries are unsolved to this very day. Oh, becoming night already. That was the most roundabout way I've ever made a furnace in this game. Dang, it's been a while since I've played Minecraft. They did an update. I could make a hat. Yo, hell yeah, I got a hat. Got a fancy hat. Just double checking here. Get out of the way. Yeah, I'm on normal. Okay. Damn. This is a quiet video. Ain't got much to say, I guess. Well, I probably have something to say. Somewhere. Buried inside my mind. Yeah, just looks right. You ever have that time where you kind of feel bad, but you also kind of don't at the same time? It's like the process of telling a half truth. Or, like, not exactly a lie, but there was more to it. Which, I mean, isn't that the definition of half truth? Where it's like you tell them half of the story, but then not the other half? I'm thinking that's what it is anyway, if I remember correctly. Well, that's kind of like what my relationship was with my mother before I left to move all the way out here. All the way out to a state roughly some 1,000 miles away. Now, why might you think I did that? Well, to go over the actual reasoning, I basically said to her that it was for job searches, like, oh yeah, just looking for a job, easy as that. It wasn't that simple. I don't know about you, but if you were, like, anything out of the ordinary and then your mother decided that in fact you were not, and decided your fate for you, you probably wouldn't be too thrilled with the idea, as I wasn't. And then when it came to my other set of parents, I was just kind of like, well, they really wanted me to find a place, and I'm just like, ah. I've been looking everywhere, I didn't get anything, so I'm just like, well, this is a place. Came up here to clear my head, kinda. And it worked really well. It's like a home away from home. A grand adventure. Kinda like my sister, who studied abroad. Way the heck out there. In a place that was definitely further away than where I am by comparison. Main point of this random rant that I'm going on is basically kind of sort of feel bad because I basically said to my mother I was going out here for job searches when it was more along the lines of getting a little bit of away from the mess that was my relationship with her after all of the stuff that happened. It was at least true one of the reasons. There was quite a few. Like, if I just go back in time and relive, just go back in time and relive, like, that specific era of time, and then just kind of rethink that is the reason I came out this way, I can definitely say a lot of it came from, like, two big main factors. From 4 different people. One was my stepmother and father were saying, "Hey, you should go find a place to, like rent out, find an apartment." I had tried to find one for months and months and months and months, and that was just like, randomly my dad pulled me aside for, he was showing me his new computer, but he decides to pull me aside to show me this, and then he's just like, "So when do you think you're moving out?" And I'm just like, yeah, probably wants me to be moving out pretty soon, I'm guessing, based on asking the question of when I'm moving out. And I had not heard back from any of the places I applied for. And then one of my buddies, way the hell out here, where I currently live, just kind of randomly and casually says, "Hey, we're looking for a roommate. Why don't you just come over here and live with us?" And the rest is history. like, just think about that one. Think that over. Like, your parents are like, "Hey, why didn't you find a place?" And I'm just like, "I tried." And then my friends were always saying, "Oh, we'll find a place together. We'll all rent a place together." I don't think any of them live in an apartment yet. So just today I said, "I'll tell you what. If one of my friends finds an apartment, or if I find one, I'll be looking about going back to that old town." Though that is quite a ways out. Not only because I care much for the people I currently live with, but also because well, apartments apparently don't contact you until like 30 business days past when it was like when you were looking for a place. Yes, indeed. I randomly got a call. I think it was day 3 of me living in this apartment from an apartment way the hell back there. And I'm just like, for starters, I ain't moving all the way back to live in the apartment that it was in because it was a really shit apartment. Like, the apartment that actually called back was not only extensively cheap, but also it just didn't look that great, I'll be honest. I only applied to it because it was a place. It was pretty cheap too, but no, not the kind of place you'd live. Anywho, um, continuing on, I was just like, yeah, about that. They're like, hey, you still looking for a place? And I'm just like, about that. Yeah, no. I wasn't gonna drive all the way back. I don't even think I had a car by day 3. Because my car broke down, in a very strange town. The town that I now refer to as Victory's Grave because I named the car Victory some time back. I don't remember exactly when. But it was quite a while ago. Anyway, point is, um, oh, where was I even? My brain, like, brainwaves were just, intercepted by, me building. Let's see, where was I? I had talked about the reason I left. I had talked about potential reasons to come back, probably. If I remember correctly, I did. I'm probably gonna get random comments in the comment section, just like, "Oh, you cut off your own statement, and now you don't remember it." I'm just like, "Yep, sure did." I talked about my dad telling me to basically when I'm asking when I was moving out. Then I talked about I'm getting closer to the trail that I had, like the trail of the idea that I was talking about. But I'm also no closer to the trail I was talking about. I love just randomly losing all thought process. It's the greatest. I don't even remember if I finished the statement or not. It goes to show just how, like, stream of consciousness a lot of my videos are. 'Cause I mean, like, nothing is scripted. I don't even think I can do a scripted video. I'd end up messing it up somehow. Such is life. Bottom line of previous statements, basically all of that happened, and well, when you're faced with several people saying, "Hey, when are you gonna go? When are you gonna move out?" and stuff like that, chances are rather decently high that you're gonna find just about anything. And find a place I sure did. It's a pretty nice place, not gonna lie. It's filled with really nice people. Though that always makes you think, if you did leave, is this the kind of place that you miss? I don't know. You know, far be it from me to say that, like, you have to decide, like, that decides what, so on and so forth. But, like, being homesick is another thing. Because I could say all I want, like, oh, just this place is great because of the people that live in it. That would be true. But there's a whole lot more to a location than the people in it. Yeah, that looks nice. Sometimes you really oughta just go find yourself and return only when you think you can. Moral of the story. Because that is precisely what I plan to do. And why I'm thinking of returning back to my old house. Well, not the old house, but the old town. My old house was sold. That was a good place, too. What simpler times those were when I was back in high school. They were both more simple and also extensively more complex. They were simple in that I had a place, I had a roof over my head. I know that much for sure. Not that this is an uncertain roof over my head. It's definitely a roof. Like, there's no debate. It's definitely a location. And the other thing is that there was always food on the table. That is also still not really a debate. Because, I mean, still got food. But the simplicity in which those things came is a little bit different. Back in the day, you didn't pay rent. That's the kind of situation I'm saying. Like, you just lived in your mother's house or your father's house or the basement or whatever have you. Now, if anyone thinks I would ever consider going back into living with my mother, I would most certainly not do that. That would be an absolute travesty to my mental well-being. Like, I love the lady, but also, God, motherfucking damn. Like, she's also simultaneously the worst thing for my mental health. 'cause my ma is not so happy about the whole situation. For those who do not know, allow me to just switch back over to this screen here. You see that those two flags side by side to each other? Yeah, there you go. That's the situation. In case you were unaware. And stuff got real interesting for a while. God, I just remember the arguments we'd get into over the simplest of things, and how completely unflinching she was about some of them. The simplicity of, like, changing a single name and then being like, no, you can't do that. Like, can and have, thank you. Because all of my friends now call me, like, Holly. You know. Makes a really big difference. Even my sisters call me Holly, so I mean, get hecked. Get hecked, dearest mother. That stuff's great. And it also reminds me a lot of, well, reminds me a lot of my dad as well. We didn't actually get into, like, arguments over that kind of stuff, but, like, it's kind of clear in some circumstances that he may not have, maybe not have known exactly what to say sometimes. I mean, bless their heart, they tried. Every now and again, it was kind of... Not that I fault them overly much about it. It just is what it is. Though sometimes it sure did feel like they were there more out of the effect of, like, me being alienated from Mother Dearest rather than them being there because they actually care for being an ally. Sometimes it felt like that as well. And albeit that is okay at best, you can really tell the difference between someone who actually supports the idea and someone who's kind of going along with it because they have to. Like, oh, you know, you can, that you, You know that parental thing where they're just like, "Oh, I'm happy for you, yeah," and deep down you can kind of feel the dread. You can kind of feel that, like, "Oh God, here we go again." What cockamamie skin do they have now? Kind of feeling. I had some pretty decent feelings towards that as well when I was living with them. Not to say that that's particularly bad, but if it's noticeable, it can not. It can feel kind of not great. That much for sure, I'll say. It be what it do. Okay. Oh, it's still not nighttime. Technically. I would say a lot of those kinds of situations where it's like that, you kind of know more when you're in it rather than an observer of it. Because there's a whole host of a lot of more things that I've noticed that, like, people who pretend to care about that situation do or say to act like they care, when in reality it makes absolutely no difference for them whether you're this or that. And now that you are this, they have to put in more work, so they probably like it a little bit less. Not to speak badly about anyone who does that, but like, when it's noticeable, it's noticeable. And when it's noticeable, it's kind of sad. Doesn't make you feel great. I'd say that much for sure. Sometimes it'll make you feel bad, but it doesn't make you feel great. It's like going down to one of those like really big fast food places, getting a big tub of like cheese curds and finishing it all in a day. That make you feel great. We're talking like the greasy fast food. Doesn't make you feel great afterward, but only afterward. Like beforehand, you didn't really think about it. Doesn't really bother you. Only after does it kind of sting, where you're just like, maybe they weren't quite what they said. Maybe they didn't quite articulate what they meant because they thought it would hurt your feelings, or so on. Sometimes you just get a feeling. I get a feeling. Not that kind of feeling. But anyway. Sometimes you just get that subtle feeling in the back of your head. Maybe like months after something has happened where you're just like, you know, that kind of sucked. And only after a lot of contemplation do you realize just how badly it sucked. And just how blatantly obvious it was. These are a few things I've come to know in time. There's also that strange other side to the whole, like, it doesn't make you feel great, but also it's there. Where, like, say that you're, like, you know, trans or something, like I am. Where, like, some people try maybe a bit too much. They actively do something that's a little overboard. To the point where you're just like, look, man, I just want to be left alone. Like, that's great and all that you care that much about it. Oftentimes, I find that a lot of trans people more or less like to be left mostly alone. You know? Like, yeah, there's great and all trans pride, woohoo. Trans rights are human rights, so on and so on. Because trans people are people. Anyway, oftentimes I find that those that are like, using it for political gain typically try really strange tactics to do stuff like that. This is by far not a political channel in any way, shape, or form. Because I hate politics with an iron passion of hellfire and fury. But the statement is, if someone actively, like, throws it in your face that they're this, chances are pretty decent that you either fucked up and called them the wrong thing, or they're acting like they're that for view. Like for views, if it's in public. If it's in private, then that's an entirely different situation. You probably just fucked up. Which is also a common circumstance. Where someone royally fucks up and they're just like, hey, listen. But if it sounds like they're overreacting, there's a potential chance that they are. I'm not gonna say that it's always the case, because there is nothing that is always the case. There has never been an absolute that is 100% correct. With absolute certainty that every single facet of that specific circumstance is correct. Well, I mean, there's probably an example. Even that absolute is not an absolute, because there's probably an example of an absolute being correct. Yeah, but you see what I mean? Not every absolute is absolutely perfect. I'm going to coin that term. Not every absolute is absolutely perfect. That is my new terminology for when I make an absolute and you absolutely know that it is absolutely not perfect. But only Sith deal in absolutes, which itself is an absolute. Anyway, before everyone clicks off the video for being too confused to continue to watch, a lot of the time when people over-try, it's just as awkward as when people don't try at all. Is me statement. And over-trying, that's an entirely separate video I could go on about, talking on and on about how people actively trying a little bit too much is sometimes a bad thing. Now, don't get me wrong, trying too much is a sign that sometimes a sign that they care, but can also be a sign that they don't, and they're trying to make it look like they do. But there's no way of getting around it that saying that you are one immutable characteristic could potentially gain you some favor with a side politically. Those people are more violent with it, though. At least that's what I find. And that's all the further I'll go into politics. Politics. Because, I royally hate politics with a burning passion. And for good reason. Kinda lived in that, like, that sort of half and half split down the middle. If you know what I mean by that, basically, if you live in a house where half of the household is one and half of the household is the other, and you kind of have to formulate your own opinions, it gets pretty rough. Because there's a lot of chatter that goes on that I don't agree with on either side. But then there's a lot of things that happen that I agree with one side or the other. And then I hear a lot of people that say that people that take the center is basically just opting out of attempting to try, and that, like, oh, those people are terrible or whatever. But I'm just like, have you lived in a household where one half of the family believes one thing, the other half of the family believes the other thing? You're more likely to probably end somewhere in the middle if you live in such a household, where I feel that it's more of a logical stepping stone to take somewhere in the middle rather than fully go for one side or fully go for the other side, because all it takes is one side to end up corrupting, like becoming corrupt, for that one side to suddenly become like this really evil figure in history. And we've seen such things happen before in different countries. And through news media, which is a whole can of worms that one can open by themselves as well. The world is a very strange place when you think about it. The fact that we divide ourselves into different groups to then yell angrily at each other about why one group should be why one group should believe what the other group says and what one group should believe what the other group says. Constantly locked in a debate that has no end, because neither side will ever come to a consensus or agreement. Because one side says, oh, coming into a consensus is confirming such and such and being a part of the problem, so on, so on. That's pretty strange, don't you think? That that's how things turned out. If we go back in history, do you think the people from way back then ever thought that that would become of, like, that would end up becoming what they made? I don't think they probably thought that far ahead. And if they did, they probably said, hey, don't do this thing, and then we just didn't listen to them anyway. Whatever you do, do not split into groups of two. Always have a third in order to keep the balance. And then we're just like, no, fuck you. We do what we want. Land of the free. And then just shit hits the fan. That's a scary topic sometimes. Because if you say what you believe and someone else finds your video, you could end up getting, like, randomly taken down because of statements made. That's stupid. And also sometimes justified. I take a stand for what I believe in, but I'm not going to do that in a YouTube video. Why do it here? Not only am I not popular enough to take a stand, but if one side of, like, the politicians suddenly take over on the like any which side that I do not believe with, there's a high chance that the video would just vanish anyway. That's sad if you think about it. You could have the most civil discourse feasibly possible, and someone somewhere will still be pissed off about it. That's the kind of land we live in. Them be the times that we live in. Then again, you could just be living your own peaceful, happy life out on the farm somewhere, or just way the fuck out there in the countryside, and someone somewhere will still be pissed off. They'll find a reason to get pissed off at you. If you don't make one, they'll find one. That's sad. I think it is. Where oftentimes people justify their existence by who they hate. That's upsetting. I simply say that I don't hate anyone except for the people that hate me, because oftentimes that leads to conversation, and conversation leads to understanding. And the world does not have enough of that. Discussion and understanding is something the world is very lacking in. Because oftentimes you just hear people screaming at each other. Neither side's gonna get anything out of it. It's like a civil war, where both sides are equally armed and equally entrenched. You're just caught in a stalemate that will never go anywhere. Kind of like World War I, actually, where they were actively caught in stalemates quite frequently. Despite what video games may have you believe. Oftentimes it was more sitting in a trench than going on the front lines and blasting enemies out of the sky. It was more like, Billy, 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 do you got the foot cream? Yeah, another fellow just came down with the foot. Well, hello. I've been too busy building my house to notice when those guys spawned in. Billy! Billy! Well, yeah, it be how it do. Except when it don't. Then it isn't. I like how I said, oh, I'm not going to go into politics. Holly, 5 seconds after saying she's not going to go into politics. You're caught in a stalemate. You're not getting anywhere. Look around you. The people that are looking for change are getting the change because the people that are supposed to change ain't changing. and or refuse to change. I could go on in a lengthy video about all of this, but nah. Just know that on this channel I prefer to be mostly apolitical. Why so? Because it could be either or both sides that hate me. Neither one has said a word. And I refuse to go looking. I'll vote for what I believe in, but goddamn, if one side is one way and the other side is the other way, I don't know if that matters. Oftentimes I wonder to myself, why do people actually get into those kinds of arguments? Like, what do they get out of it? Because, I mean, like, if you're screaming at each other, chances are pretty high neither side will get just about anything. Sure, some people are very angry, and so they choose to take out their anger in such ways. But is that truly healthy? Probably not, right? To scream and shout rather than communicate it out? Who knows? I don't. That's why I'm asking the question. I'm sure some very political person will find this video, will stumble upon this video and be like, "Oh my god, you should know why." Or like, stumble upon this video and try to start something. Go away! We are peaceful people. Here in this community, we are a peaceful people. There ain't need for any of that violence and nonsense. Such is how be the tides of war. Back at your homeland, you don't want tides of war ruining everything. As such, most people say, keep war to the warfront. Then I have no war front because I'm not at war. Thank you kindly. Me casually ranting and raving about just about anything that comes to mind. Ah, it's just like the good old days. That's it, folks. Holly's back. Making videos again. I've returned. I have returned unturned. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. And by unturned, I mean I don't have anything more interesting to speak about than randomly ranting and raving. But that's why you click on these videos, isn't it? Come on, be honest. Leave a like on this video if this is the if you click on these videos to hear me randomly rant and rave about something completely non-sequential. Zero likes. -5 likes. Everyone's just like, oh, this is not why we clicked. I don't know. Life is full of mysteries. And any attempt to rewrite histories typically only serves to repeat them. Hmm. Ha. 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 And this is the portion of the video that Holly started to talk like a villager. Wow, isn't that funny? Nice commentary, you fool. Ha 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 ha. We laugh and point because it's funny. Ha ha. What am I going on about? That's when you know I've reached a new, like, dimension of thinking, when I'm just like, what the heck am I going on about? Like, what purpose does this conversation serve? None? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Right, well. Right. Get in the door. That's an hour of recording. I think that's pretty good for now. As such, I shall bid you all adieu. Until next time. Bye bye.